Hello, welcome to the third part of our first lesson from Unit 3, Factoring, for our Grade 10 Academic Math class. As I said at the end of video number 2, or part 2, this part's kind of optional in that I don't think we're going to have a lot of time to do it, but I will take you through it for those of you who are interested. This is an application that I think a lot of students find really challenging, but let's have a look. So here we have 2 to the exponent negative 4 plus 2 to the exponent negative 6 all over 2 to the exponent negative 3. Now, you're being asked to evaluate without the use of a calculator, because if you had a calculator, you could just bang this thing through it, come up with an answer, no problem. But the trick is doing it without the use of a calculator. How can we do that? So the easiest way to do this is to utilize factoring as a way of sort of undoing the level of difficulty of figuring out, God, what is 2 to the exponent negative 6? What is 2 to the exponent negative 4? Those are just big fractions, and it would just be a bit of a pain to work through them if we can do it in a way that's more efficient. So as you can see, the instruction that I've written here is factor out the power with the lowest exponent, in this case 2 to the exponent negative 6. Even that phrase is a little bit confusing. I tend to say, look for the largest negative exponent, meaning that you find the largest number in the negative exponents, and that's going to be the one that you factor out. So in this case, you've got 2 to the exponent negative 4, 2 to the exponent negative 6, 2 to the exponent negative 3. The biggest of those three numbers is 6, so let's factor out 2 to the exponent negative 6, which is what I've done here. And let me just wind that back a little bit, since in my notes I seem to have, oh gosh, I'm erasing a lot of stuff. There we go. Once we've common factored out 2 to the exponent negative 6, I want to just show you the thinking that went on here, because we need to use a little bit of our exponent laws to make this happen. So if I am shooting for 2 to the exponent negative 4, and what I want to factor out is 2 to the exponent negative 6, what I'd like you to remember is that when you're working with powers, so a base and an exponent, when you're multiplying powers with the same base, so in this case, I guess imagine before we had a 2 here, or before we had a 0 there. What I would be asking myself is 2 to the exponent 6 times 2 to the exponent something is going to give me 2 to the exponent negative 4. So what is that exponent going to be with the question mark there? What's that going to be? The thing you want to remember is that when you are multiplying powers with the same base, you keep the base and you just add the exponents. So the question becomes, negative 6 plus what number is going to give us negative 4? And the answer is, as we already said, 2. And then we're going to apply the same thinking here. If we have 2 to the exponent negative 6 times 2 to the exponent something, how do we get 2 to the exponent negative 6 back? Some of you may be saying, and rightly so, well, that's the same thing. So you would just put a 1 there. But we want to keep our base of 2 in that it will help us further simplify this in the next step. So if we wind our way backwards, this would then be 2 to the exponent negative 6 plus whatever this number here is going to be to give us negative 6. So what number will be in the question mark? The answer will be 0. That's the thinking anyway. Hopefully that explanation helps. And when I do the same thing in the denominator, I have 2 to the exponent negative 6, which I've chosen to common factor out. And I want to figure out 2 to the exponent 6 times 2 to the exponent something gives me 2 to the exponent negative 3. Which, as I said, is essentially like asking negative 6 added to what number will give me negative 3. And the answer, of course, is 3. Negative 6 plus 3 will give me negative 3. So that's how you choose the thing you want to factor out, and that's how you figure out what the exponents are going to be after you've factored out a power. From here, it's actually fairly straightforward, and you'll see why we go through the effort of doing this. And it's that because we have one term in our numerator, this is just, let me change up my colors here a little bit. This is just one big term in the numerator and one big term in the denominator. So because there's one big term in each, what I can do is I can divide both numerator and denominator by a common factor to reduce it. And in this case, 2 to the exponent negative 6 can be divided into the numerator and denominator evenly. So we've effectively reduced a lot of the confusing larger numbers in this question and are left with just 2 to the exponent 2 plus 2 to the exponent 0, whole thing over 2 to the exponent 3. Now these are numbers that are a little bit easier for us to handle. For example, now that we have to evaluate this, well, 2 to the exponent 2 is going to be 4, 2 to the exponent 0 is 1, and 2 to the exponent 3 is 8. And now we almost out of room here. And now we're going to simplify that to 5 over 8. Which, if we look back all the way where we started with 2 to the exponent negative 4 plus 2 to the exponent negative 6 all over 2 to the exponent negative 3, yeah, it looks complicated. So this is why we would do it. You can see all the steps after the common factoring are fairly straightforward. And even a question like this is more manageable than the second example we're going to look at. Second example, same idea, 4 to the exponent negative 112 minus 4 to the exponent negative 111 all over 4 to the exponent negative 110 plus 4 to the exponent negative 112. There is very little chance of us getting this solved without, or I guess evaluated without the use of a calculator. So in this case, it's really helpful to do the common factoring. So again, the thinking here is that we are going to take out the lowest exponent, which to me visually translates to the largest negative number. In this case, it's 4 to the exponent negative 112. So let's common factor that out right now. So I'm going to common factor out 4 to the exponent negative 112, and I'm going to be left with 2 items. And then the denominator, also common factor out 4 to the exponent negative 112, and I'll be left with 2 items in the denominator. So again, as we're filling this out, we're going to be utilizing the 4's that we have, and because we factored out positive 4 to the exponent negative 112, we can just keep the signs that we had in the original. It's up to us now just to figure out what are those variables going to be. So let's use that same thinking as last time, where I have 4 to the exponent negative 112. What would I multiply? Let me change my color up here. What would I multiply that by? I.e., what would I add to this in order to get us back to negative 112? Well, the answer is 0. We have 4 to the exponent 0 as our first term. Let's do this for the second term. So we have here negative 112 plus what number will give us negative 111? And the answer is going to be 1. Hopefully this is working out for you. Maybe try the bottom 2. Just pause the video here. Maybe try the bottom 2 on your own and see how you do. And then unpause the video and I'll give you the correct way of sort of getting those last answers. So give it a pause here. And now you're back. Or maybe you never paused at all. I guess I'll never know. So we're trying to figure out this guy here. We have 4 to the exponent negative 112. And we're going to be adding that to whatever this exponent here is to get us to negative 110. So I guess what it's asking is 4 to the exponent what times, or I guess added to negative 112, and that will be 2. And in our second example, negative 112 plus this guy over here, so negative 112 plus this item here, whoops, that turned into an exclamation mark on me, plus this guy here will give us negative 112. So that one's a little more straightforward. We can see that that one is going to be 0. And there's our 0. So as before, we'll just quickly go through these last steps. Because we have a common factor in both the numerator and the denominator that's identical, we can divide both numerator and denominator by 4 to the exponent negative 112 and just be left with 4 to the exponent 0 minus 4 to the exponent 1 all over 4 squared plus 4 to the exponent 0. And now let's go through and evaluate this. Oh man, I'm gonna run out of space again. Oh well. That's gonna be 1 minus 4 all over 16 plus 1. Now, this is terrible form, so let's not tell any other of your math teachers that I did this, but there you go. We're moving sideways, which is not great. So 1 minus 4 rather gives us negative 3, and 16 plus 1 gives us 17. So there's our final answer. So hopefully this explanation helped. As I said, this is sort of an extension. It's very challenging, I find. And if you gave it a try, congratulations. Thanks for going for it. You should definitely head into the homework now, and I'll see you guys in lesson number 2 for some more factoring shenanigans.